Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 news. A big news day today, especially because Mick Schumacher has been confirmed as the reserve and third driver for Mercedes for the upcoming season. What does that mean for their development of the W14, but also Mick Schumacher's potential return to the grid in 2024? Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty else to talk about today as well, but mainly on the Mick Schumacher thing. They agreed this morning, Ferrari and Mick Schumacher, not to extend their collaboration. This of course has been rumoured for some time, but was officially confirmed this morning. There was even some talk as well about one of the reasons why Binotto was gone was because that relationship there with Schumacher, the fact that he was driving for Haas, the Ferrari engine, of course, Ferrari supplied team, like that kind of fell down. Haas didn't want to keep him around. Ferrari weren't able to give him a seat or anything, so it makes sense for Mick Schumacher to go the same way that his father did and go from Ferrari to Mercedes. This was then kind of revealed this morning by Mercedes. They tweeted this out, him turning up at the factory, and it's quite obvious who this is, and 2 minutes later they tweet this out confirming Mick joining as the reserve driver for the upcoming season. It's a really cool story, great to see. We know that Toto Wolff and others within that Mercedes camp were quite keen to get Mick Schumacher on board. That's now been officially confirmed. Now what does this mean for Mick Schumacher but also for the team going forward? As their reserve driver, okay, he's going to be doing obviously stuff in the simulator, work behind the scenes, probably some marketing stuff as well. Makes a lot of sense I think for Mercedes, and maybe they see some potential in Mick Schumacher that either Haas clearly didn't, and maybe even Ferrari as an organisation don't maybe anymore. We saw some great things I thought from Mick Schumacher this season. Austria was arguably the highlight when he was holding off Hamilton in that race. If Magnussen didn't get further up the road, then maybe Mick Schumacher can even, hold on a bit longer there. He had a great race as well, I thought, in Silverstone. There was a period there where he was very competitive. He was even battling with Max Verstappen for P7 or whatever it was at the end of that race in Silverstone, and arguably could have had it if Max didn't force him off the roads going into Luffield. So, that was kind of the highlight of his season around there. Then after that, the car was just terrible, to be honest. The other cars caught up a lot more. The Haas fell back down the pecking order. Magnussen was barely delivering any points either. Yes, he got that crazy pole in Brazil, but apart from that, a pretty terrible stretch to end the season for Haas. They just got carried by the start of the season, where Mick Schumacher was not on Magnussen's level, which might be expected given, the veteran that Kevin Magnussen is, and probably an underrated driver, to be honest, in what he can deliver. But look, Mick Schumacher's still got a lot of hype around him. I know that a lot of people thought, probably myself included as well, that he deserved another go at Haas if they wanted to keep him around. I'm sure, he would have stayed another year there if they wanted to, but it was quite clear they were finding many reasons to get rid of him, and now he's going to be joining Mercedes at Brackley and all that type of stuff. So here's some pictures of him this morning, or whenever they took these, probably a couple of days ago now, and here he is signing the contract here with Toto Wolff. I don't know if they actually signed the actual contract here, or this is just for show, and it's just some random words on a piece of paper, but nonetheless, pretty good to see. And we've seen Toto Wolff talking up Mick Schumacher the last few weeks, and these are some words from the Mercedes side in terms of what he's going to be doing for the upcoming year. He will conduct regular work in the simulator at Brackley throughout the year as we fight back from a challenging 22 season. This work will be harnessed trackside, as Mick will also attend all Grand Prix in his new role, alongside carrying out marketing duties across the year. Expected stuff, of course, from the third driver, from the reserve driver. And these are Toto Wolff's words, which I think make a lot of sense, given the fact that Nick de Vries is now gone as Mercedes reserve. He's joining Alpha Tauri for the new season. They needed a replacement there. Mick Schumacher, arguably the perfect guy. Maybe Mercedes wanted Daniel Ricciardo, but of course he went to join Red Bull again, as he was there a few years ago. Mick is a talented young driver. We're delighted to have him join the team. He's a hard worker, a calm, methodical approach, still hungry to learn and improve. I think we saw that really at Austria and in some other races as well, where you could see that kind of steely determination in his eyes that reminded people of his father Michael. And we haven't really yet to see, and there's been a few occasions where we've seen that translate into on-track performances, but I do think there's more to come from him there, and hopefully we can see it in his career. As Toto goes on to say, these are all important qualities, and we're excited for him to help us develop the W14. And that's also kind of key as well, right? Having a very respectable, solid driver as your reserve to help out with the simulator work with their other simulator test drivers, like Anthony Davidson. I think there's one more as well that does that work for them. That's pretty important for the simulator work to get all that time in the W14. We also know that having 2 years of racing experience, he'll be ready to step into the car at short notice if there is any sort of replacement required, as we have seen this season Nick de Vries do on, at least one notable occasion in Monza. Mick Schumacher says the following: "I'm thrilled to be part of the Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 team." I love that they make them say that, the full name, every single time, as their reserve driver, committed to give it my all to contribute to performance, all this good stuff. Thanks for the team for supporting and, putting their trust in me for what he can do. So hopefully we do get to see more of Mick Schumacher. I think taking a year out is, well, look, it was kind of forced upon him, right? He didn't have a choice to stick around as there were no available seats open. But, I think we can still see more here from Mick Schumacher in the future, and maybe working behind the scenes with a team like Mercedes will do very well to kind of fire him up going forwards, and also potentially give him a shot of finding another team on the grid, because we saw what happened to Nick de Vries. Been there a little while now, won the Formula E World Championship, stepped into many different cars this season in Formula 1, and now found himself in that Alpha Tauri seat after having that great drive back in Monza. And I wonder what will happen to Mick Schumacher, because of course Michael Schumacher was at various teams, Benetton and others, then went on to join Ferrari, had some phenomenal success there, then went to Mercedes when he returned from his retirement, and now already in his career, Mick Schumacher's taken a similar path from Ferrari to Mercedes. And yes, Michael Schumacher didn't have the great success at Mercedes, it was more so Ferrari. Maybe it's somehow the other way around for Mick. It's tough to predict, because it seems unlikely, right, that Mick Schumacher's ever going to get a permanent starting drive at Mercedes. George Russell's going to be there for a long time to come. Hamilton, who knows how long he's going to be in that seat, and he'll still be there as long as he wants to be there. So more than likely Mick Schumacher's plan might be Mercedes reserve driver and then try and do a Nick de Vries and use that to kind of leapfrog into another team, because if other teams on the grid, if a McLaren, if a Williams, if an Aston Martin needs a replacement driver for whatever reason, then potentially Mick Schumacher can step into those situations, prove his worth, and get another spot. We saw what happened to de Vries this past season. I think Mick Schumacher's an equally impressive driver, if not more impressive than de Vries in my opinion. So hopefully he can prove his worth and get another spot. And being a Mercedes is definitely a good base to build upon for that, given what we saw the last year. So intrigued your thoughts in the comment section below. Hopefully we can see more of Mick Schumacher in the future, and it's nice to see him still around the grid. Few other big updates to mention before we close up the video. The opening race of the 2024 Formula 1 season will not be Bahrain, it will not be Melbourne in Australia as it used to be, it will be Saudi Arabia. So expect an explosive start to the season, that's all I'll say. But yes, this is because I believe due to Ramadan and stuff, I think that Bahrain didn't want to have it where it was. I think this is kind of explained elsewhere. And the Australian Grand Prix used to be the round one opening part of the season, but that's not going to be the case anymore, probably due to money, let's be honest. But their kind of contract with the Australian Grand Prix was already extended until 2035. So for another 12-13 years, they already had that deal, which has got to be the longest in Formula 1 for a Grand Prix racetrack. Now that's been extended another 2 years to 2037, which is just kind of remarkable to me that they just did some further discussions and were like, you know what, instead of 2035, let's just make it 2037. I don't know why, what even is the point in that? You can easily just extend it by 2 years in 10 years time. But anyway, that's the contract they are signing. So as Andrew Benton here from the BBC describes, Australia had been due to host the opening race of 2024 because Ramadan falls at a time that prevented Bahrain from doing so. The first race will now be held before the start of Ramadan, but in Saudi Arabia and not in Bahrain. So it's kind of a weird state of affairs here, but potentially it's going to go Saudi Arabia to Australia and then to Bahrain, which is look, Formula 1 are trying to do this whole thing where they cut down on emissions, but if that's the case and they go from the Middle East to Australasia, then back to the Middle East again, it's like, lads, are we really doing the right thing here? So anyway, 3rd of March seems likely for Jeddah. That's kind of the present rumour. But look, there's no official calendar, of course, but that is the present rumour as it stands. So kind of a weird one. But yeah, Saudi Arabia will most likely be the opener for the 2024 F1 season. Pretty big update, to be honest. Thought I'd share it with you guys, definitely. And this also worthy of mention for, well, this season, like 2023. We don't know 2024, but we know all the details for 2023. And they have revealed the diary entries, let's just say, for this season. So all the practice times, everything like that. There's a few in, I mean, look, obviously this makes a lot of sense from, this is based on GMT, I guess, or at least, okay, it shows local time GMT here on the right-hand side. But if we look at the Vegas Grand Prix, which is the penultimate one of the season, one weekend before Abu Dhabi, it's rather interesting here because you can see there's a 8-day gap between the Las Vegas race and the Abu Dhabi race. That's because the Las Vegas Grand Prix is going to be held on Saturday night at 10 p.m. local. So I believe every single session here, because at this time of year, it will be dark for every session. So you guys can see that the Las Vegas Grand Prix thankfully isn't a sprint weekend, but it is a, so FP1 is at 6:30 on Friday, FP2 is at 10 on Friday, and then on Saturday it's at the same time as it was on Friday, and then qualifying starts at 10 p.m. Friday, and then the race on Sunday is at, 6 a.m. GMT, but also 10 p.m. local time. So yeah, going to be a serious night race there in Las Vegas, expected obviously, but these are all the dates confirmed. This, of course, are the sprint weekends in Azerbaijan, Baku, Austria, Belgium, Qatar, US and Brazil. It's kind of crazy that they're going to have back-to-back ones in 3 out of 4 over those weekends. Not sure if I like it, but intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. There was one other confirmation today as well. I believe that Nick De Vries will be taking up the number 21. We saw the other day that Logan Sargent will take up the number 2 for his car. Nick De Vries is going to have the number 21, so right next to Yuki Tsunoda, number 22, and these are now all the numbers on the grid if you guys are particularly interested. That was all locked in for today, but very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, take care, and I'll see you next time.